Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Strong podcast. So this week, what I'm going to start doing is um, picking some topics, some questions that I commonly get asked, or conversations I would, kind of have with people around certain topics with their training, with their fitness, with starting back, with body fat, with getting stronger, all elements of fitness really. But specifically, I suppose the type of clientele that come to me and start with me are people who either have trained in the past before, and would have gone to the gym or would have played a sport or something like that. They would have been active, they would have been doing stuff, and like that, something happens in life. Um, like it's busy, family life, work, injuries happen, illnesses happen, things like that, and people want to get back. I mean, a bit of stuck in a rush as well with things and maybe not seeing progress or getting anywhere with what they're doing. So, um, like that, then it's about getting themselves back in, and where is that starting point from? So, I suppose that first common question I might get, or the topic we will get with, is I want to start back in the gym, but I don't know what I should be doing. Like exercises, reps, sets, weight, how much, how many times a week, X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to start using and today and this episode to just break down more so thought processes and the way I would explain something maybe to a client who would have that question, how we would approach that. So starting off then, so basically, and the way I kind of look at training now, if we're talking specifically, again, because context is key with anything in fitness and nutrition, whether it be person specific, goal specific, or outcome specific. But if we're just looking to get back, use that first month as the layering the foundations, getting the groundwork in first, whether that's needing to relearn uh, how to lift, movement, testing out how the body feels after some time away, um, and rebuilding things back up from there, getting back maybe a base level of cardio or just daily movement, or regular movement. So what I'll do today is look at it from maybe a strength or a gym point of view. And rather than getting yourself overwhelmed with thinking, oh, Jesus, what exercises do I need to be doing? And I'm not going to remember how to do that and whatever. If you start thinking and looking at it as movement patterns. And we have certain movement patterns that we cover, or any kind of exercises, general exercise for strength, we'll cover in the gym. And we kind of want to get those covered in 2 sessions a week. So, like that, 2 full body sessions covering these movement patterns that I'm going to go through. And you will know some of them, and you will understand, and like that, it's the understanding of them and how to apply them is more so the thing. So if we look at it, there is a handful of main movements that we do in the gym or with exercise or with strength training. Is we squat, we hinge, we so that's lower body exercises. You might break that down into a single leg or single sided as well. And then upper body, you push, you pull, and you do that from uh push that away from you, push overhead, pull down towards you, and pull in towards you. So like that, it's just the different angles at which you would do those movements. And again, you can break that down into singles. And then I like to add in like core. And I'm not talking about sit-ups here. I'm talking about carrying heavy load, stabilizing, rotation, that kind of stuff. Um, where we are looking at getting the whole core strong so that it allows you to do the other exercises and you feel strong through there. And it allows you then to apply the work through the legs and through the upper body, and that the core is nice and strong and able to brace loads as you get stronger. And that's the way I would generally break it down. And we look to cover that then, those movements across 2 sessions. So for example, if we look at the squat, like that, we're working legs, we're working the front of our legs, our quads, our glutes, and a bit of core as well, because depending on which way you would load it, your core will need to be braced as well. So like that, a squat can be done. We may know like a body weighted squat. We may know like a goblet squat where we hold the weight in front of us. We may know like a barbell squat where we put the bar on our back. Or in a machine, we're looking at like a leg press. So though that kind of what we call knee dominant movement, or we're doing the movement through the knees. And that's our squat. Our hinge then is hamstrings or the back of the legs, glutes, lower back, maybe a bit of core as well. And from there, then we're looking to things like a deadlift, an exercise called an RDL, a hip thrust or a glute bridge. Exercises like that where we're moving through our hips. So that's kind of will cover you from a leg perspective. And then like that, I like to add in some single leg stuff. I think it's really important to have some so like that lunges, step ups, reverse lunges, walking lunges, all variations of lunges and step ups, things like that where we work through the single leg so we keep that nice and strong as well, and we work on a bit of balances, imbalances. Single leg RDLs are another good one as well. So like that, you would have a core group of exercises then to put into 2 days and then progress it on from there. So then next upper body, then we would look at a push. So like that, we can talk push-ups, we can talk chest press to work the chest, we can talk shoulder press to work the shoulders. And again, we can do a variation of these with a single arm as well. Again, maybe further down the line. And then we have pull. So you'd have stuff like a lat pull down or a pull up, body weighted pull up, or an assisted pull up with a band or a machine. And you'd have a row. So like a seated row, and again a single arm row. Again, all variations of different row patterns. And then like that, core exercises, then I'd like to add in our farmer's carries, some form of rotation with a cable, and things like that. Maybe a plank, side plank, stuff like that, where we're bracing through our core. We're rotating as well. I think rotation movements are really important to include those. But again, over time, we don't need to include all these straight away. And that is the general little setup I would use for starting out. And again, like that, once you understand the movements and some basic exercises then that apply to those movements, you can apply them with a machine, with a kettlebell, with a dumbbell, with barbell, with body weight, with cable, whatever the case may be. And again, the tool can be down to the person, what suits them that you use. Like for me, and I give an example, is last year I was having some really bad issues with my grip because of the arthritis and getting some really bad flare-ups with my wrist. So I did a lot of stuff in machines. I did a lot of stuff with cables, where I could attach a strap to my wrist and I wouldn't have to hold or kind of grip and pull there, and it took off the pressure. And now I'm back to kind of building up some dumbbells and barbells and things like that. So again, you can try different ways and different means. And again, what's available to you. If you're at home, you might only have a set of dumbbells or a couple of sets of dumbbells and body weight, and you have to try and apply as best you can all those movement patterns. In a gym, far more accessible, but again, gyms have different stuff, and it's about seeing, well, how do I apply all these movement patterns? That will cover my bases. Remember, I'm talking about just covering the bases, getting yourself the foundations back for the first month, 6 weeks, where then you can start progressing, learning new skills of lifting. Because at the end of the day, I like to say that lifting is a set of skills. Learning to lift is a set of skills. And like that, it's actually really boring when you break it down, because you're just repeating the same movements over and over and over again through different rep ranges and trying to get really strong through them, and maybe changing up a chest press machine for a dumbbell press or a barbell press. It's the same movement, you've just changed the way you're doing it. So like training at the end of the day for like especially strength specific or even muscle building specific, it is repetitive. You gotta get really good at finding stuff that you can repeat and a setup that you can repeat. And that's with anything. Like I'm not just talking with training, I mean with nutrition. Um, that you can build on week and then you see the progression through. Um, but like that, it's about getting that core group maybe of movements, understanding them, where they're to work, what muscle groups are being used, and then you can build on it from there with different exercises, different approach in terms of reps and things like that. And again, at the start, like you have your muscles to train, but also like your nervous system, you're to get your joints used to movement under load, your brain understanding what you're asking it to do, what your movements you're trying to do. And this is where people kind of try and load up too quick too soon and not give their body the first couple of sessions to kind of learn, absorb, train, learn what you're asking it to do. Like on the first session, you won't get the technique right. Maybe not on the second session, maybe not even on the third session. But eventually, over time, repeating the same movements and not changing your workouts and your training every single week, you give yourself a chance for the body in general to absorb, and you get to understand what you're doing, and then you can start progressing through it. And from a general starting point of view, what I would look at doing is like, again, I'm talking strength training, I'm talking just weight training. Can you get to 2 sessions a week covering 4 to 5 exercises in those sessions? Sorry, actually, maybe 4 to 6 exercises, covering those movements. So like that, your day one would have a squat and a pattern, and it would have maybe an overhead press pattern. It would have a pull down, and you might do a single leg maybe or single arm, and you repeat the process then for day two, where maybe your leg exercise is a hinge, and then you just do the opposite of the upper. So you do, maybe if you did an overhead press on day one, you would do a chest press on day two. If you did like a lat pull down on day one, you might do a seated row on day two, and maybe again another single leg exercise or a single arm exercise, or throw in a core exercise in terms of maybe like a farmer's carry or something like that. And that's kind of it to start with, and then you can tap in maybe if you like a little bit of um cardio as well, nice and light for 15-20 minutes. And again, you're just trying to start building up this habit and test it out and see how it's going to work for you. Like that, if you're changing every couple of weeks and you're throwing different exercises in every week and you're not giving yourself a chance, like you'll be surprised at how long you can keep progressing at a program with, and how long you can keep using it. It doesn't need to be changed uh even every 4 to 6, 8 weeks. Like you can still run the same exercises. The only thing that might change is that you're progressing through it. Okay, I'm lifting more weight, or I am doing more reps or less reps with more weight. And that's how you kind of progress it. And then a handy kind of thing at starting out to kind of use to know how much to lift or where to start even is a thing called an RPE scale, or you're rating how hard something feels out of 10. So if 10 was my absolute like max, like I'm at my limit here on, we'll say 8 reps, and that's my absolute limit to lift a chest press. Then from there, that's too much. One is like way too much, or way too little. I could do loads of this exercise or this weight at this rep scheme. I could keep going. It's way too light. Starting off, we want to be somewhere maybe around a 5 or 6. And then as you get more confident in the first couple of weeks, progressing it on to maybe like a 7 to an 8 out of 10. And you're kind of sticking there for a while until the confidence grows a little bit more. And you might maybe for a week or two bump it to a 9, and then you might come back down again. And it's just different ways you can progress, but it's a handy scale or a way of thinking to, okay, where do I start with a weight? start, test it out. You don't know until you start something and play around with it and test it out. Because as I said, you're not going to get it right in the first session. And like that, as I said, you're just building that week on week rate of progression, trying to progress a little bit, whether it be on reps, whether it be on weight, whether it be on skill, it'll be, retweaking the skill. Like that's a rate of progression. I performed this better than I did last week. Um, so like that's the key things I kind of go through with people when they are starting out is movements first, and then how we apply it is the second. Understand those movement patterns first, and then you can apply them with whatever is available or what best suits the person. Because that's what makes you kind of stick to it one, but get more out of it. That's this weekly progression that you can feel you get stronger at something over time, and you're not chopping and changing. And I suppose this is where I talk a lot about building foundations first for the first month, because there's a lot of things you got to test out. You got to, test out movements, what suits you, what doesn't suit you, um, how it fits into your schedule. How where in 2 days of the week, how is morning better, afternoon, evening, weekends. What's the best setup for what's going on in life. And again, then over time it might start. Okay, how am I going to stick to this and set yourselves little challenges and little ways you can progress in the gym and pushing things on. And I suppose this is why I have a little guide that I put together just to give you a starting point um, for strength training, talking about like that, the movement patterns, a little 2 day setup, and understanding where to start and why you're doing what you're doing. Free little guide, it's there in the description, or you'll find it on my Instagram page. But any questions on a topic like that, let me know in terms of the starting point in the gym. I'd like to hear feedback, did this make sense? And anything else you would like me to cover on this kind of topic of starting back into the gym and where to start, let me know. And I'll chat to you again next week.